to the place I belong. What's going on, Jerome's? Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, Minnesota Vikings general manager, met with the media jackals today, and he talked about some things. Some things that have been going on with the Vikings. Let's dive into some of his comments. First up, Andrew Kramer, a Star Tribune. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah on Vikings direction. We're trying to live in both worlds. We're trying to live in today and tomorrow, a competitive rebuild. However you want to phrase it or market it, that's how we approach this offseason. We're trying to live in today and tomorrow. I feel like that's like a Justin Bieber album title. It's all good. And the Vikings, they tried the soft rebuild last offseason and it didn't work out. This time around, I actually do think that they're going about it a little bit more smartly, where they're keeping intact the core, as well as adding guys like Za'Darius Smith and Harrison Phillips and Jordan Hicks to supplement that defense, which was the problem last year. So I'm pretty fired up, where I think the Vikings can have their cake and eat it too. They can have that. Not really even a rebuild or a reset, but the Vikings last year 8-9. I think with largely the same talent pool. I think with better coaching and management, I think that they can win double-digit wins, as well as get into the playoffs, as well as win the division. We're Ragged Sports Illustrated. Kwesi. As we enter the second wave of free agency, we'll continue to be selective and patient, but we're always looking to find ways to add to this team. Now, all of the glitz and the glamour in mid-March is about first wave free agency. All of the record-breaking contracts, all the money flying around, teams with a lot of cap space just tossing it up in the air. And the Vikings were towards the back of the pack when it comes to cap space. Of course, cap is a myth. They can find cap space if they want. And you've seen, hey, well, the Vikings didn't have the cap to sign Za'Darius. Well, they restructured Danielle. Oh, they didn't have the cap to sign Harrison Phillips. Well, they got rid of Michael Pierce. There's always ways to find money if you want to make moves. But this time of year in free agency is what separates good teams from great teams, where, hey, anyone can throw stupid money at players, a la the Jaguars, just paying $11 billion for Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. But getting some of these value free agents, whether it's a guy coming off an injury or a guy who's a little bit older, and you can get them for a cheap deal where they can still play some good football, this is where the money ball comes in. So I think as we go along with Kwesi over the years, I think this is where he's going to be making his money. Potentially bringing on J.C. Treader at center, potentially bring on a Bryce Callahan or Kyle Fuller or Patrick Peterson back at cornerback at a discounted rate. I think this is where the Vikings offseason really gets interesting. Thomason, Pioneer Press. Kwesi indicated that there's interest in getting a longer deal done now with Danielle Hunter. So Danielle is under contract through next year. He had an $18 million roster bonus, and he is still woefully underpaid. Last offseason, Spielman and the Vikings, they revised his contract where it put in that $18 million balloon payment as a roster bonus. But Danielle's pec injury complicated things. Now, I still think Danielle deserves to be paid like a top-tier edge rusher, but he needs to prove it for a full season. 2020 missed the entire thing with a herniated disc in his neck, as well as he missed all but 7 games last year with that torn pec. Now, full season, opposite Za'Darius, putting up 15, 16 sacks, leading the league in pressures, or something like that, give him all the money, which is going to be complicated for the Vikings because Jefferson is eligible for an extension next offseason. And after seeing what Christian Kirk got and what Devontae Adams got and what Tyreek Hill got, I mean, Jefferson's just going to get all the money, all of it. Thompson continues. Kwesi about Za'Darius Smith. I don't know what happened with Baltimore. He says the Vikings were having ongoing talks regarding Smith and did say they were a little bit surprised when the news surfaced that he wouldn't indeed go to the Ravens. So I do believe Za'Darius, when he was talking about he wanted to stay in the Midwest. I mean, he's a Kentucky guy. He went up to Green Bay, and I understand the attachment to the Midwest, even though he did play for 4 seasons in Baltimore. And he wanted to stick with coaches that he has experience with. Now, he's not talking about John Harbaugh, who was, of course, the head coach when he was there in Baltimore, but Mike Pettin with the Packers, Mike Smith especially with the Packers. It wouldn't shock me at all if when news came out that Za'Darius was about to sign with the Ravens, that Mike Smith was like, what's up? Come to Minnesota. I'm going to Minnesota. Petty's going to Minnesota. You should come to Minnesota too. Either way, it worked out for the Vikings. And it's kind of crazy because things like this usually don't happen for the Vikings. Whatever. Sean Borman, Kwesi on whether or not he'll add a cornerback in free agency. If the value meets the player, we'll strike. If it doesn't, we won't. Translation, hey, Patrick Peterson. Hey, Kyle Fuller. Hey, Bryce Callahan. Hey, Trey Waynes. Hey, take the league minimum if you want to be part of this defense, man. And then we'll see where it goes from there. Other than that, no thank you. And finally, Will Raggett's Kwesi on Anthony Barr potentially return to the Vikings. There's going to be a tougher situation to navigate. Never say never. Those decisions are tough. That's a long way of saying no. Like, that's the polite, diplomatic, hedging way of saying no, ain't gonna happen. So Anthony Barr wasn't going to be back after they signed Jordan Hicks in that similar off-ball linebacker role. And there had been some speculation that maybe Anthony Barr would be moved to the edge full-time, even though I think the bloom is off the rose. And if he would have done that right as he came in out of UCLA, I think he would have been a monster, but it is what it is at this point. And also Za'Darius coming in completely slams that door. And also Za'Darius is going to take number 55, so there's nothing left. So Hicks took his off-ball role, and Za'Darius took his edge role as well as his number. So, yeah, it's over. That's finito there. But, yeah, Kwesi, best dressed GM, by the way. Kwesi always looks good, man. It's like Kwesi and Dave Gettleman, even though he's not a GM anymore. Best dressed. There you go. Anyways, let us know your thoughts on his thoughts. There you go. In the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.